Alright there, I'm laying out a Murder Incorporated page. Also got a new camera here that can actually film in some form of HD, so hopefully this video will be a lot clearer than previous ones. Also hoping the sound carries, we'll see. So just to help you out with the page I was working on before, or to set up the page we're working on now. I guess I should have set this up better. This is a scene from Murder Incorporated where Valentine is meeting with two FBI agents from the very first series, and he's meeting them in a bowling alley. The previous page, or previous scene, they get to the bowling alley, the FBI agents in this small town, and they meet Valentine. The layout here is pretty simple and straightforward. They're sitting across from Valentine. There's going to be, I'll do my backgrounds probably digitally, or at least I'll, when I scan these pencils in, I'll use either SketchUp or some photos and stuff to kind of sketch out the backgrounds of a bowling alley, getting the right reference and stuff. And, I'll plop those in my digital pencils. And then I'm either going to print them out and ink them, as I did the last couple pages, or I'll just do it fully digitally. Just kind of depends on the mood and time scale I'm on. One of the things I did here, this is really very simple, straightforward layout, just 5 panels. Especially when it's just characters talking. If it's very much like a personal scene, I don't get inventive with the layouts. I think that's when it's a time to really keep things quiet, because we're focusing on what the characters are saying and what the characters are feeling, more than any sort of action that needs to be sort of expressed on the page. And here what I did was, this is a little pretentious and cheesy or whatever, but on a previous page I had established, sideways here, but this is Val sitting like this. And I didn't think about it at that time, but as I reversed the shot, I realized there's this sort of crucifix kind of posed for him. Wasn't thinking of that in some sort of artsy-fartsy pretentious way, but he is being used by the FBI. He is a sort of sacrificial character. That kind of symbolism works well for a reason. Anyway, I have that set up here, and when I drew it, I realized, if I move everything over slightly, the page itself becomes kind of a cross figure. So we'll see if that works or not. We'll see if anybody notices or cares. Anyway, so these two FBI agents are talking to him. He's telling them that before they start any business, they should go rent some shoes, because it's the polite thing to do. You go to a bar, you sit down, and you're supposed to order something and stuff, so it's that sort of thing. So that's the basic sort of setup going on here. So I'm going to take you here through the full process of how I kind of lay out the page. I'm going to read it to you and talk about how I think the best layout page. So this is page 5. So this sketchbook is wider than it is tall, so usually I'll just kind of cut off a little section here to approximate an 11 by 17 page. And this is still too short, so it gives me room to move objects or move panels up and down for more word balloon space. But again, it's just laying it out in my sketchbook, so I don't care about accuracy at all. I barely care about accuracy on the finished page. Anyway, so one of the first things I do when I look at a script for a page is I count how many panels. Because before I can think about anything else, I need to know how much space is on the page. And there's sort of layers of this. First I count the panels, then I figure out, do one of these panels need to be outstandingly large or much more important than the others? Or is the pacing in this page sort of even, like kind of a back and forth vibe, or is there a back and forth, and bam, big image and back and forth or something? So initially, let's just take a look. There are 7 panels. I hate 7-panel pages. Just because it's an odd number, and sometimes it makes for a tricky... Not that it's hard to lay out 7 panels. It's not like a lot of panels or anything, but what I've learned over time is that there are certain numbers of panels that are easy to pace out. And 7 is always a little odd. well, it is an odd number, but we'll see. We'll see what the beats are like on this page, and then how that'll affect the panel layout. So panel 1, Valentine on the left, Glass and Bell on the right. Glass reaches for his shitty nachos to see if he himself actually wants one. The shoe rental station in the background is out of earshot. Valentine, you walk into a bar, you order a drink. Come in here, you rent some fucking shoes. Bell, is this everybody? Where is everybody? Valentine, they invented the internet porn, so everyone stays at home. Ha. It was her line. I don't think she was joking. Panel 2. So obviously there's a lot of dialogue on this page, so it's going to need to be either a taller panel or a wide panel, but it's going to be a significant panel. It can't be like a little panel like this. It's going to have to be either tall or wide, fit in all this dialogue. It's not a lot of dialogue, but it's enough that you have to consider it. Panel 2, not a lot of space here. Glass leans forward and tries to get this where he needs it to go. So Valentine, what can you tell us about? And Valentine interrupts him with this, points a cigarette at both of them. Now I haven't actually drawn a cigarette in Valentine's hand yet. I actually drew a beer bottle in his hand, so either I can keep the beer bottle and he just kind of waves the beer bottle around, or I'll have him pick up a cigarette, but make sure that it's unlit, because you can't just suddenly have a lit cigarette in the middle of a scene that hasn't had a break. So Valentine interrupts and points a cigarette at both of them. My dime. When you heard my mother had birthed me into the world as a double agent against the Bonnevie's family, what did you think? Spoilers. Panel 4. So this is also a pretty small panel, not that big of a deal. Just looking at it, even without reading, I can see the pacing on the page. So panel 1 needs to be relatively large. Panel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 can be small. Then the last one's going to be big. Something's telling me because the last one's going to be big, that means this last panel, instead of being a tall panel, because then what would happen is, say we have panels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This can be confusing to some people, or it pulls the eye over here, so they end up reading panel 7 before these other panels. So I know what I'm going to do already. It's like this. That first panel with a lot of words, and all 3 of them, so they're all kind of laid out here. I'm going to do it wide-wise, because there's 3 people. 1, 2, 3, and then the blah, blah, blah. The last panel, again, I don't want to do a tall one here because people might accidentally want to read from here to here, even though it's obvious where you should go. Your eye kind of still gets pulled. So the panel 7 is going to be a wide panel as well. So that leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means, let me read this for a second. So I think I'll just keep this really even. I think that'll be the best pace here. So one big panel, this panel 1, we have panel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it feels like I should have 3 panels on here and 2 panels in the middle, because I'm just looking at the space here of the words. So this the dialogue. This is a much more back and forth kind of vibe. All right, so panel 1. They have this conversation. Panel 2. So Valentine, what can you tell us? Valentine, no, on my dime. So that's Val here. That's 3. So she's gonna be here. So 4. Glass and Bell look at each other, not sure who to answer, but truthfully. Glass, I thought, wow, my predecessors really did some solid tracks. Laid some solid tracks. I thought it wasn't fair to you. 5, panel points, I very appreciates that, thank you. See, I like this back and forth, so it's a lot of kind of quick cuts between the dialogue, so this 3 panels here is going to work really well. Thank you, I just want someone to know, to say that they know I got screwed. 6, Glass and Bell see that they have it in with him and they try to take it. Glass, oh, we both think you've been screwed. Honestly, I don't think there's another way to look at it. And 7's going to be wide again. She never asked me my mom. She never prepared me. She never told me my purpose to basically fuck over everyone I ever met. Told me this for the first time in front of you, you 2 fucking strangers. So this is really important because this is Valentine really saying what's been internalized for him from the very first issue, and he's speaking directly to these guys, these two. So I think it's important to show them. That means it's important to show all three of them. So it's a good call to have all three in this top panel, all three in this bottom panel, and then it gets more personalized in here. It's a little rambly, but that's how my mind works. It's kind of rambly. All right, so I'm going to lay out. Just going to again kind of lay these panels out. So 1, 7 along the bottom. And I also like symmetry on these pages, where it's really just kind of straightforward conversation. If things were to get untrustworthy, if somebody's really lying to somebody else, if something bad's about to happen, that's when I'll pull out sort of angular panels and panels that kind of express instability. But right now, this is a pretty straightforward conversation. People are keeping their cards close to the vest, as they say, but it's still pretty straightforward. Check the text. And that's part of working too, is you're just constantly interrupted by one thing or another. I could just shut my phone off, but I'm not going to do that right now. Anyway, alright, so panel 1. Valentine on the left, Glass and Bell on the right. Glass reaches for shitty nachos to see if he himself wants one. Shoe rental station is out of earshot. So the speaking order here, Valentine speaks first, Bell, Valentine, Glass. I'm thinking the best way to do this is an upshot or a downshot. So I've got Valentine, Glass is the one who wants to reach for a nacho, which was established on the previous pages. And actually, I gotta erase this already because I'm kind of sketching out too big. There's going to be a lot of dead space there, so maybe I am going to go with more of a side shot. I don't get too detailed when I'm doing this initial layout. It's almost like stick figures. Sometimes it gets tricky with characters that haven't been around a lot, or I'm not really completely used to, like this Glass and Bell character. I'm trying to forget, remember which character is which, so sometimes that'll slow you down too during the layouts. But Bell speaks first, and she is in front of Glass. So all I'm doing here is just kind of blocking out the shot and just kind of setting up where the characters are. So on the previous page, there's stuff on the table here. There's nachos and crap like that. This table is really too high right here for him to actually do what he's doing, but it's a cheat. It's not about the specific. I think people get tripped up in the specifics of a page and thinking too hard on the logistics of things as opposed to the storytelling. If somebody cares about how high the table is or isn't, they're either assholes or they're not thinking, they're not really into the story. You know what I mean by assholes? It's just somebody who's always looking for problems. It's just a weird thing. Like, people just love criticizing, the plane is supposed to be here, or, tables aren't that tall, or this chair wouldn't hold this person. Like, that's not what stories are about, and if you're thinking about that, you're either purposely trying to, be a smartass, or you're just totally not into the story. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, so plenty of space here for the dialogue. It's panel 2. Glass leans forward to get this to where he's going to go. So Glass is the dude. All right, so he's leaning forward, and that's the motion here. That's the sort of point I want to get across, because he's leaning into what he's saying. So it's important to just get that vibe. It's like an interrogation, sort of, but not really. And body language says a lot. It says, it says what the characters aren't saying. So he's just talking casually here, but his body language isn't really casual, is it? He's leaning in. Again, this is all I need. It's just some light sketches, and I'm going to go back into these sketches and tighten them up. And then I usually use these pens, like a Micron and some other stuff, to tighten it up. Panel 3, Valentine interrupts and points his cigarettes right at both of them. Alright, this is where Val is feeling pretty pissed off, and he wants to know what they think about his situation. So I'm going to match his body language with Val leaning forward. I want him to be bigger than where he is in this top panel, but I guess it's fine if it's about the same size as this dude. The cigarette can't be lit, but he's picked it up now. And whether Brian wrote it in the script or not, he's going to have to light that cigarette. Why else would he pick it up? I mean, he could pick it up to kind of wave it around, but he already had the beer bottle in his hand that he was waving around to punctuate what he's saying. I'm also not thinking too much right yet about the backgrounds or the black spotting. Right now, it's just the storytelling. And usually this goes a lot faster, but obviously I'm slowing down to talk about what I'm thinking about, and also thinking about it and saying these things, like, it's distracting to what I'm actually doing, so that also slows me down a bit. Usually this goes much faster. I'd actually be done with all of this by now. Alright, so we're on panel 3, 4. Glass and Bell look at each other, not sure. It says who to answer truthfully, but I think Brian how to answer truthfully. Alright, so it sounds like they're giving each other sort of their own internal language, so I don't need Val here. I'm going to indicate him in the foreground. Bell is going to be looking a little more straightforward. Glass is going to give away his body language. He's going to actually be looking right at her. Basically, they're both pretending to have sympathy for what Val's been through, but they don't. They're using them. Panel 5, Val points to her, appreciates that. Thank you, I wanted someone to know I got screwed. Alright, now I'm going to have him light a cigarette. One of the reasons I'm going to have him light the cigarette now is because he feels pleased. He's saying thank you that somebody cares about what he's been through, and he's sort of rewarding himself now at smoking a cigarette. It's a little bit of acting that you have to think about, human nature, body language, and stuff. Still having him lean forward a little. I'm not thinking too much about my lights and darks and contrasts. I know I can do this puff of smoke, kind of frame his face out, and black this out, and dark that. So it's a very noir scene, very dark. So sometimes I'll jump ahead and I'll think about something like that, about where the contrast is. What else we got? Now, panel 6. Glass and Bell see that they have. Let's see here. Glass and Bell see that they have it in with him, and they try to take it. So whatever he's going to throw at them, insults or bullshit or whatever, they're just going to go along for the ride. Glass, we both think you've been screwed. I honestly don't think there's another way to look at it. So they're both trying to be like, we're on your side. So that body language is to be like that, like, oh man, we both think you've been screwed. So I'm going to throw in this kind of body language. Her hands go up, like she's got nothing to hide. We're on your side. But I've decided this other character, Glass, is not as good as hiding his body language and thoughts as Bell is. And Glass and Bell, I think, is a reference to Art Bell and Brian Glass. If you know anything about the infamous Area 51 caller in modern UFO mythology, you'll know what that's about. Anyway, panel 7, which is the last panel, Valentine is talking to himself more than them. Now, question to myself here is if they need to be in the panel or if I should be really close in on him. I think I want to get really close in on him because we have at least two shots with the three of them all together in a panel. And there's been these kind of medium shots of Val. So I think now it's time to really pull in and get personal with Val and show his face, maybe for the first time, because you can't see it here, but in all the other panels, the lighting is so heavy, so dark, that we never see Val's eyes or his real facial expressions. So now that he's talking about something painful, she never asked me, my mom. She never prepared me. She told me my purpose was to basically fuck over everyone I ever met. She told me this for the first time in front of you, two fucking strangers. So obviously this is like painful for him. He's still kind of a baby. One of the things I like about Val is he's pretty immature. So he's got a long way to go. So yeah, I'm going to get in really close here. I'm going to go straight forward too, like he's talking to the camera. And do I want him? Yeah, I think I want him slouched a little. No, I'm going to have him back to that original position where his shoulders go back. And let's put a cigarette here. It's really badly drawn. I'm going to struggle with this drawing. So. Kind of dead eyes. A little bit of snarl. That's all the hard work. That's the thinking. So now I'm going to take this kneaded eraser here and just kind of lightly, very lightly erase. All I've got down there is just the gesture lines, right? Now is usually when I really lean on my music or audiobook or something. I hate kind of drawing, it's silence. But hey, for you guys, anything. This is where I usually do a lot of time-lapse videos too, because it's not too much for me to say when I'm drawing here. One of the things I love about working with Brian, his scripts, like when he's talking about Agent Glass here, I think in the script it said something to the effect of Glass is reaching for the nachos as if he's like deciding if he actually wants one or not. And it's not super like imperative to the story. It's not part of the plot in any way. It's just a small human moment. It infers a bit about his character. To me, it says he's a little distracted, the fact that he's thinking of eating these old fucking nachos. He's not quite as sharp as his partner. when I'm laying this stuff out, these pencils, which I keep really light, I don't get too detailed. I don't like getting detailed. Don't like being too exact. I get tripped up thinking too hard on things. So the less I can think about it, the better in a weird way. You need spontaneity. I need spontaneity in my art. I can't sit there and think about it too much. I kind of choke up. On some of the most important projects I've ever done, I try too hard. I'm thinking too hard. I'm overthinking things, and it bogs things down. It makes it less fluid, less natural, and it suffers. So, being an imperfectionist, I say. Also, working like this and talking like this, I apologize earlier for saying some people are assholes for caring about stuff like this. It's just, I'm very much working from deep inside of my head right now of just trying to talk to you at the same time I'm thinking about the script and the layout and secretly recounting panels in my head because I can even lose track of 3 or 4 panels because I'm thinking of several things at once. I think I'm just going to... a second. I'm just going to kind of run my pen through the outline of just these top characters. And I think the rest of it I'll just kind of show you in time-lapse because, like I said, I don't have too much to say with these pages at this stage. This is all I do. Keep the outlines really simple. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. It's just kind of show me where the shapes are and stuff. Actually, this is some texting I got to get back to. So I'm going to end it here, actually, and I'll do this time lapse separately. But this is basically the process of laying out a page, what I'm thinking. And there you go.